Hi, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the annual School Science and Technologies Evening to honor teachers, especially science teachers. And I'm Carolyn Nickel. I'm the director of the program. And I just want to say that this year has been exceptional, working with really inspirational teachers from our ConocoPhillips Rice Elementary Model Science Lab and our Rice Excellence in Secondary Science Teaching Program. These teachers tonight are not only invested in exceptional science teaching, they're also deeply connected and deeply committed to the students that they work with every day. And those of you who are guests of a science teacher, you know that they're very dedicated, and I just think that you'd all like to give them a round of applause for all that they've done for the Houston community. And I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the incredible team that we have here at Rice that has been working on providing this professional development. So if the members of the School Science and Technology program, teaching staff, and administrative staff would please stand. Thank you, guys. And then we really need to acknowledge our sponsors, and that is ConocoPhillips for their generous support. The Texas Regional Collaboratives, the Houston Independent School Districts, and Mike Lunsford, the school board member, is here tonight. Toshiba and the National Science Foundation. I do have a couple of announcements. Unfortunately, Terry Greer cannot be here tonight. He had to go out of town. He was looking forward to speaking with you, and he sends his regrets. A couple other announcements. If you need parking validations, have questions about stipends or certificates or materials, please talk to our staff out at the reception. And please stay for the reception. We have some students from the Shepherd School of Music who will be playing. We have teachers who've brought in posters from that show how they brought inquiry back into their classroom, and also teachers who have are presenting posters from their internships here at Rice. And now I'd like to introduce our provost, Dr. George McClendon. He's our host for the evening, and as provost, Dr. McClendon is Rice's chief academic officer and is involved in all levels of Rice's research, education, and innovation. And he's also a professor of chemistry, and so we're honored to have him here to honor science teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. One of the main duties of the provost that she didn't mention is often I introduce people, and that is my primary responsibility tonight. So first of all, it is such an honor for me to be one of the honoring the teachers. Both of my daughters chose teaching as a profession. I certainly would not be here without being guided by great teachers along the way, and so I'm extraordinarily grateful for that. And I know how demanding the program is that John and Carolyn put the teachers through here. So I'm extraordinarily grateful that you've been engaged with some of the best minds at Rice and helping take your skills, which were already great, to even a next level. I would mention that Rice has a really strong K-12 portfolio, of which the SST is among the crown jewels. Many of you who teach science have worked with our STEM Scopes portfolio, especially in some of the lower grades. Others of you have downloaded free textbooks via OpenStax, the nationwide, now global free textbook initiative in science and other key subjects. So we're committed as an institution to trying to help empower teachers to empower our students to do really great things. And last but not least, if it weren't for many of you in the room, there would be fewer great students at Rice from the greater Houston region. So I'm also personally very grateful for that because I get to teach some of those students alongside John and others. So thanks for all of that. My first provostial job is to introduce Francis Vallejo, who has had, as is listed in the program, so I won't read through all of this, has had she breathes a sigh of relief as I say this, has had an extraordinarily successful, almost meteoric career at ConocoPhillips, trained as a geophysicist. She found, alongside her scientific passion, an extraordinary ability in management and finance, and is now the Vice President and Treasurer of ConocoPhillips. The one thing that I will mention that is not as obvious in her bio, she tells me she comes from a family of educators, that her father was in fact the superintendent of schools in Pueblo, Colorado, and that at least in part explains her passion for education, the reason that she serves on the board of directors of Teach for America, the reason that she serves on the board of trustees of Colorado School of Mines. So we're extraordinarily grateful for ConocoPhillips as really the lead sponsor of everything that has happened on your behalf and on ours with SST. This really rather remarkable check points out just how much that sponsorship has meant. It's millions of dollars over the past few years and continuing. And so I'd like to welcome Ms. Vallejo to the microphone and thank her and Conoco for their extraordinary support.
Wow, that was very gracious of you. Thank you. I'm so pleased to represent ConocoPhillips here this evening, but I'm really most pleased from a personal perspective because of those educational roots that I have, both with my father and my grandmother. I didn't mention that earlier, and because of my own scientific background, how I know how important this is, what you're doing. ConocoPhillips invests in educational programs to help communities develop the skills needed to be successful and productive citizens. We provide support to students to help them gain broad-based knowledge with particular focus on math, science, and energy education. We also place emphasis on educating teachers, as you know, so that you have the tools you need to develop your students. Last year, 31% of ConocoPhillips charitable giving worldwide was contributed towards education-related programs and initiatives. The ConocoPhillips Rice Elementary Science Lab is ConocoPhillips' largest elementary school-focused grant worldwide. And since 2008, we're proud to say that we've contributed $3.6 million towards the lab. And I'm really proud of our company for doing so. The program reaches many, if not all, of the public school districts in the region, and it impacts 10,000 students annually. But most importantly, as you know, students of teachers who have completed this professional development program are outperforming students whose teachers have not received the same development. So I'd like to express my congratulations to all of you teachers who have completed the program this year. I know what a commitment it is, and I know what kind of passion you have to be able to have the tenacity to get through it. And I also thank your districts for supporting you in attending this program. So on behalf of ConocoPhillips, we're very proud of you, and we're very proud to partner with Rice in providing this professional development here at the ConocoPhillips Rice Elementary Science Lab. Thank you.
I saved the best part of the introduction for last and am vindicated by your extraordinary presentation, which is that in addition to her other many wonderful qualities, Frances is also a Rice graduate. So we moved from one extraordinary Rice graduate to another extraordinary Rice graduate. It is my great privilege and pleasure to introduce the current and next mayor of the great city of Houston, Texas, Mayor Anise Parker. Many of you will remember that when she was asked on a previous election, is it true you're the first? She did acknowledge that she was the first Rice graduate to become the mayor of Houston, which was a fabulous thing. Under her leadership, which has been quite extraordinary, Houston has been recognized in many formats, some of which are in your program. I'll highlight only a couple. As an extraordinarily entrepreneurial city encouraged by the mayor, we were City of the Year 2 years in a row by Fast Company magazine. Mayor Parker was named by Time magazine as one of the 100 most influential people in the world. Though some of you will have seen the Wall Street Journal did actually a great interview with the mayor just a couple of days ago that appeared in the online edition, and I commend that to you. It's a fun, very wide-ranging interview that gives you an insight both into the mayor and a lot of insight into why Houston is viewed by the Journal as perhaps the most dynamic city in the United States. It's certainly the fastest growing. And I can tell that every time I get on the expressway. As I mentioned, Mayor Parker graduated from Rice University with a Bachelor of Arts. She went on to a very distinguished business career with Mossbacher Energy, was a small business person as a co-owner of a bookstore, and has then gone on to a distinguished career in the political sector. It is my extraordinary pleasure to welcome and ask you to help me welcome Mayor Anise Parker.
Thank you. It was a very nice introduction, and thank you for mentioning the Wall Street Journal article. It came out last Friday, which happened to be my birthday, and it was a great birthday gift. You know, when the Wall Street Journal does an interview with you, they do a caricature of you that they print. I looked 20 years younger and 20 pounds lighter. I love the caricature. This is the best thing about the whole article. I'm happy to be here tonight, although I will confess that when the invitation came over my desk to be here, I said, why are they asking me? I'm not a teacher. I don't have any direct role in education. I don't know that I have anything profoundly moving to say. And since this is the end of your time in this program, you probably just want to get the heck out the door and enjoy the reception. But I have a hard time saying no to Rice, and I've had a hard time saying no to Rice for a long time. So I said I'd be happy to come and address a few things that are happening in the city and why it is so meaningful to me and to the city of Houston that you are not only teachers, but that you have chosen to invest time and energy in yourselves. I will point out that my brother-in-law is sitting right here on the second row, so it's good to see him. That's another reason that's great to be here tonight. Let me tell you a little bit about Houston. You probably know all these things, but it means I didn't have to rewrite my standard stump speech, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about Houston. We are the hottest economy in the United States. We are booming right now. Every indicator is green for the economic future of Houston in the short term. If you do a cursory internet search, it was mentioned that Fast Company magazine named us the city of the year. Forbes says we're the coolest city. I'm not sure what it means, but it really sounds great. But we are the best place for young professionals, the best place to start a career, best place for women in the workforce, on and on and on. List of superlatives. If you look at the underlying sectors of Houston's economy, number one, we are still the oil and gas capital of the world. ConocoPhillips, I spent gas industry. When I graduated from Rice, oil and gas was 80% of our economy. It is still about 50% of our economy. So, oil and gas, medicine, Texas Medical Center, the largest medical complex in the world, an aggregation of more than 40 institutions with giving us unparalleled access to medical treatment, cutting-edge research, and is a large employer. I understand that if the Texas Medical Center was its own city, it would be nudging around in the top 20, trying to get in, somewhere right in there. Tells you the scale of the Texas Medical Center. Right after that, we have the Port of Houston. We are the largest exporting port in the United States. I actually do run into Houstonians on a regular basis who don't know that we're a port city. Maybe because we're 50 miles from the ocean, I understand that. But we're a huge port. We're America's largest foreign tonnage port. Fourth big sector, we are a manufacturing powerhouse, and the capability is growing exponentially. And then finally, we are the home of NASA, aerospace, high tech, as we all know, the first word spoken from the surface of the moon. We are also, because we are growing so rapidly, attracting the best and the brightest from all over the world. My understanding is that we have more engineers per capita in Houston than any place on earth. But if you're attracting the best and the brightest from all over the world, if you are attracting people from all across the United States, and we lead the U-Haul count right now, and we have for some time, means that more U-Hauls come here than any other place in America. If you are doing all those things and growing that rapidly, what are we doing for the people who were born here and are growing up here and are being educated here? Are our kids able to compete with the best and the brightest from around the world? Why do we have so many engineers here in Houston? Interestingly, when you consider oil and gas and medicine and NASA, a valve on a rig is not fundamentally different from a valve in a heart. It's not fundamentally different from a valve on a space shuttle controlling fuel. We have a high-tech synergy here, particularly in the engineering disciplines, that is second to none. But again, are we turning out the engineers of the future here? Rice has a great engineering program. I don't even want to hazard a guess how many engineers we turn out. A&M dwarfs us, I know, but it still isn't enough to fuel the needs of our industry. And what are we going to look like tomorrow? We're going to look like more of the same. We are officially, thanks to the Kinder Institute, now rated as the most diverse city in the United States since the last census. We are arguably the most international city in America, with no single population majority. You can spend all day in Houston and speak nothing but Korean. You can spend all day in Houston and speak nothing but Vietnamese or Chinese. With all of that international input, with all of the diversity we have, with the entrepreneurial fervor that exists here. In fact, if you're not an entrepreneur before you get here, there's something in the water here that everybody thinks that, Houston is a place that they can come, they can make their own, they can make their fortune, and we are a huge engine for new startups. But I come back to, what are we doing with our own kids to make sure that they can compete in that environment? I have been hosting a series of dinners with CEOs of major employers here in the Houston area. I had the last 2 Mondays, and next Monday I'll have another where I get a dozen CEOs in a room, and we talk about what their concerns are about Houston, and what could I do better as a mayor, giving them a chance to rate me, but what can I do for them? How can I help? Monday night, I had Halliburton, I had Baker Hughes, I had BHP Billiton Petroleum, I had a number of other companies represented. What do you need? They went around the room, and of the dozen CEOs I was sitting with, they have 10,000 job openings in the greater Houston area right now. 10,000 job openings. I just did a new app for the city of Houston. The city has sponsored a new app. It's called Tweet My Jobs Houston. It's a free app. You can download it, and it will provide you with, you don't have to go on to monster.com. You don't have to check a multitude of job boards. You can download Tweet My Jobs Houston, and it'll tell you existing jobs across the city of Houston, preloaded with a lot of companies that have that are national and are engaged in Tweet My Jobs operations in other cities. I think we're the 5th city that now has this. On the day we started, we had 150,000 jobs posted, and that was a month ago. I believe we're up about 200,000 jobs. And yet, we have all these people coming from all over the place. We have lots and lots of folks who are looking for jobs. What's the problem? Why do we have all these unfilled jobs here in Houston? Well, a lot of the people who are coming, when we say we attract the best and the brightest, we seriously do attract the best and the brightest. We quickly fill jobs with high-level scientific and engineering qualifications, and we quickly fill jobs if you want to stock a shelf at CVS. What are we not filling? I need process engineers. I need technicians. I need equipment operators. I need electricians. I need plumbers. I need people who will build the city that is the fastest growing city in the United States. All of those occupations require math. They require science. They require planning. All of those occupations, many of which don't require a 4-year degree. A lot of them require, right now we're looking at 2-year degrees, require the things that you are teaching. And yet again, I'm with CEOs, and just going around the room, on the back of the envelope, they thought they had about 10,000 job openings. What can we as a community do to fill those jobs? I have zero authority over schools. Some of my peer mayors in other cities have the ability to take over schools. Thank God I don't have that even that option. But I feel a lot of responsibility, and I think that the business community feels a lot of responsibility, and I think our citizens in this region, all of us who care about our future, feel a great sense of responsibility and want to be part of the solution. Now, I can tell you what the business community is telling me is the solution, and I have some ideas. And I'm actually going to, would like, when I'm going to get to the end of this, I'm going to ask for you to provide some feedback to me about what you think we can do. But going back to the big sectors of our economy, if I'm a student in high school, and actually I have my daughter and goddaughter who live with me are graduating from Lamar High School in, what, 2 more weeks, 3 more weeks? Yes, done. If I'm a student in high school and I'm looking at what my future is going to be, do I know what jobs are out there? Do I know what skills I need? Do I connect what I learn in the classroom to anything that I may do in the future? I'm asking this because I don't know the answer. I can tell you that looking at my own kids, they don't see any, and they don't see a straight line, they don't see a dotted line. They're not even on the same page with what am I going to do with all the things I'm studying when I get out of high school. They don't see, I am learning this because I'm going to be tested on this. I'm learning this because it's what I have to graduate. I'm learning this because if my grade falls below a certain level, my mother will take my cell phone away. That's why I'm learning this. I'm assuming that I'm not the only parent who sees this, and I'm assuming that my kids are not the only ones that don't understand what richness of opportunity Houston offers to those who have the needed skills. Which brings me back to you. You are all teaching in areas that feed our industry, that feed the employment pool of what we need today and what we're going to need in the future. And we are not going to slow down anywhere in the foreseeable future on the need for the STEM type education. I'm going to digress here for just a minute, and I'm going to tell you why your jobs are so much better than being mayor of Houston. You laugh. Okay. Okay, your jobs are better than being mayor of Houston. You know that there is no instruction manual for being a mayor. You, on the other hand, have libraries full of information telling you how to be great teachers, right? That's so much better, right? Let me try another one. I am forced on a daily basis to make decisions, critical decisions that affect people's lives with almost no info. You, of course, know everything you need to know as you make decisions. No? I mean, I don't know whether we need a new paddle at the sludge dewaterer at the sewage treatment plant, which is a real item. But I depend on somebody to provide me that information. I actually have 20,000 people who work for the city of Houston, who in effect work for me, that can help me know the answer to whether we need a new paddle at the sludge dewaterer and what it would look like and what it's supposed to cost. I'm sure you have tons of support as you make these kinds of. Okay, no, everybody's shaking your head. All right, let me try another one. There really isn't a right or wrong way to do a lot of the things that we do as a city. They are just different ways. There's not a there's not a partisan way to pick up trash. There's just different ways to pay for how you pick up trash. There's not a there are environmentally sound ways to dispose of trash and not so sound ways to dispose of trash. They're not necessarily right or wrong. They're all, each thing we do, we have to consider a range of outcomes. And I know that you have a very clear-cut job, and everything you do, this is what you're supposed to teach, and this is what, okay, I'm going to keep going. I've got to find a way that your job is better than my job. I have a lot of trouble in my job with unintended consequences. Okay. Actually, and usually I don't see the unintended consequences. They often don't show up for decades. Okay. Well, I think the final area that I know your job is better than mine, that I often have extreme amount of responsibility for things that are beyond my control. A hurricane comes. I'm supposed to make sure that everybody's safe and that everybody evacuates appropriately, and I get perfect compliance from the people I give directions to. Okay. I know some of the challenges that you face, that everybody thinks they know your job, and everybody thinks they know how to do your job, and everybody has lots of really helpful advice as you move forward, and everybody assumes that you can teach a child that doesn't do homework, doesn't know what homework is, has a parent that doesn't care whether they do homework, stayed up all night watching TV, and didn't have anything to eat in the house this morning before they came to school. But it doesn't mean that we have the option of not doing everything that we can do to make sure that they have as good a successful outcome as is possible to achieve. I consider what is in some ways a truly impossible job. I love my job. I'm excited to go to work every day, but it's not a job that is in any way possible to master or to anticipate. You can't be a mayor and be in control all the time. If you pretend you can, but you can't. And I know that your jobs are a lot like that. But I also know that I know the outcome I would like to see. And I have a vision in my mind always of the city of Houston as it could be. And my challenge every day that I give to myself is to try to bring the city that I see a little closer to the city as I imagine it could be. And I believe that the reason that you've put yourself through this training and that you have committed yourself to this profession and that you are engaged in trying to transform young lives for the better is that you have that same idea and ideal that you are pursuing. I will give you a story. I'm not up here with answers. I'm going to give you more things to think about. I'm going to give you a story. And then any of you who are willing to either engage with me in this room about things that we could do together as the city and as teachers to improve the community, we'll have the conversation, either formally or informally. Because as a city, we do lots of things. We provide after-school programs. We do our law enforcement duty. We grab the truants and we drag them back so you get to have them again. We provide mentoring and internship programs. I have a mayor's youth council and a youth volunteer corps where we take your best and the brightest and we try to keep them engaged and occupied. But nothing I do really deals with the problem of the gap in skills and the gap in graduation. And in all the CEOs that I have spoken to, none of us really has the piece that is the bridge. The story I have, and it may be, if you've heard me, I've given actually a couple of commencement speeches recently. Suddenly I became mayor, and my stock as a commencement speaker went way up. Never was asked before I became mayor, but I've given a couple of commencement speeches over the years. And I found this story, and I want to put it out to you, and because I use it with students as well, with graduates as well. Every village, if that village is lucky, has someone who is wise and caring and will share their wisdom with others. Now, every village, if it's blessed, has a wise man, a wise woman that helps guide the people in that village. And the village that I'm thinking of had a very revered, wise woman who helped guide the village. But every village, whether they are blessed to have people of wisdom or not, has a bully, has the bad guy. And this village, of course, had the bully. And in the incident that I'm thinking of, the bully was so incredibly jealous of the wise woman and the ability of the wise woman to interact with the villagers and the respect that they had for her, that he determined that he would try to embarrass the wise woman in a very public way to completely destroy her credibility. And so he approached her one day while she was in the village square and she was talking to the assembled villagers. And he says, I have a riddle for you. I have a question for you. If you can answer this question, I will acknowledge that you really are a fountain of wisdom and knowledge. If you can't answer the question, you will be exposed as a fraud. And the bully, he had his hands cupped. And he, just like this, and he said, my question is what I hold in my hand, is it alive or is it not alive? And of course, since this was a bully and this was a trick, there had to be some test to it. What the bully had in his hands was a butterfly. And if the wise woman said, what you have in your hands is not alive, he would open his hands and there would be the butterfly and it would fly away. But if she said, no, it's not alive, it is alive, he would just, very little pressure, crumple the wings and the butterfly couldn't fly, and he would open his hands and it would be not alive. So whatever she said, it was going to be wrong. And so the wise woman thought for a very, very long time, and she looked at the bully, and she nodded, and she said, I cannot say whether what you hold in your hands is alive or it is not alive. I can only say that the answer is in your hands. The answer to this problem is in our hands. I know it is. It's in each of our hands. The answer to this problem is one that will require not just those of you who have dedicated yourselves to a critically important profession, but it will require those of us in political leadership, those of us in business leadership, to come together and work together to solve it. I am confident that each and every one of you in this room has already committed yourselves to every solution possible to you, and that every one of you in this room is willing to work with me to try to find a better outcome and create the workforce that will both build our city, guide our city, and lead our city in the future. Thank you for being who you are and for what you do. I appreciate it personally, professionally, very, very much.
Hi, everyone. If I haven't met you before, I'm John Hutchinson, one of the members of the teaching group for SST, and also professor of chemistry here at Rice, as well as dean of undergraduates. And I want to add to what everybody else has said here in the way of thanks. But before I get to that, I actually want to hazard a quick, if I could be so bold, Mayor Parker, possible answer to the question that actually might sit in the room here today, which is the challenge of how do we find the ways to our students to be interested in science, engineering, technology, mathematics, so that we can fill those gaps. And I think the answer is that we have to show them that science is not about just solving the problems at the end of the book and plugging the numbers into the calculator. And it's not about memorizing the names of the different isomers. Those are important tools, and those are important things that we have to have. But science isn't that. Science is about discovery and inquiry. And what this program, SST, has been able to do, hopefully for all of you, is to rise to that challenge. I think ConocoPhillips and I think the Houston Independent School District, and helping us build this program, have recognized by funding a program that is based upon inquiry learning and discovery learning, that what we really have to do is transform what we mean by science education and turn it into those discovery and learning exercises that show that science and engineering and technology are exciting subjects, that they are in fact fascinating human endeavors, because that's what will inspire our students to go into those fields. Not just, can you work this problem and can you answer this test question at the end of the year, but rather, do you know what it feels like to discover new knowledge? Do you know what it feels like to ask a difficult question of your own and then answer that question? And so we thank ConocoPhillips and we thank HISD for making this possible. I want to add to that as well someone who hasn't been thanked, was Carolyn Nickel, who runs this whole program for us. So thank you, Carolyn. To those teachers who rose to the challenge that Carolyn has put in front of you and that ConocoPhillips and HISD have put in front of you, at this point we are here to honor you and would like to honor you accordingly. So if all of the elementary teachers who were members of the Rice Elementary Model Science Laboratory would please rise so we can acknowledge or congratulate you. And all of you who were members of the Rice Excellence and Secondary Science Technology Program, Reset Program, could also now please rise and be acknowledged. We thank you for what you do, because you do what we need to have done, which is to educate our students. But we also know, and I can say this as well because I'm a teacher, and because, like George, both of my daughters chose teaching as their profession, that I know you don't do what you do because we thank you. And we also know that you don't do what you do for the money. We know that you do what you do because you love what you do. And what you love is both your students, most of them, most of the time, and you love the subject. You love the science. You love the inquiry. You love the technology. You love the mathematics. You love this subject. And you bring that love to your classroom, and you make it possible to bring that love to your students, who then maybe can discover it for themselves. I'm hoping that what has happened over the course of the last year through the SST programs is that for each of you, maybe Rice University has been able to rekindle that love that you have for science by helping you understand how you can bring inquiry learning and discovery learning into the classroom, by bringing you into a community of scholars of which you are one and working together as scholars to recognize and remember just how beautiful science is as a subject and how much fun it is to study, so that you can take that fun back into the classroom and your students can remember that as well. So we thank you, but mostly we congratulate you on rising to the challenge of recognizing what you can contribute to our students with your love of science, with your love of your students, and most significantly, your love of teaching science. So thank you for that. Thank you for being here.